I never thought a single sentence could break me. Not after everything I had survived. Not after all the lies, the divorce, the fight for my son. Not after watching my entire family slip through my fingers. But that night, at the dinner table, my 14-year-old son looked at me with cold, distant eyes I barely recognize anymore, and said, "Mom's husband is better than you." Just like that. No hesitation. No fear. No understanding of the weight behind those words. The world didn't slow down like in the movies. It didn't crumble dramatically. It didn't roar or scream. It just went quiet. My fork stayed in my hand. My breath got stuck somewhere between my chest and my throat. My mind ran through 1,000 memories at once. Birthdays, camping trips, teaching him to ride a bike, holding him the day he was born. And suddenly, all of them felt cracked. I stared at him. He didn't look angry. He didn't look sad. He just looked convinced. Convinced of something someone else had been telling him for a long time. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply said, "Eat your food, son." But inside, something shifted. Something deep. Something final. Because that night, I realized something terrifying. My son didn't know the truth. He didn't know the story behind the divorce. He didn't know what his mother had done. He didn't know how long I had protected him, even from her, and he definitely didn't know who that husband really was. But he would. Soon. That night, I promised myself. I will not fight with my son. I will teach him the truth, and the truth will change everything. I'll be honest. I wasn't a perfect husband, but I was a good father. Or at least, I thought I was. Before everything fell apart, our home was warm. My son, Daniel, used to run to the door every day when I came home from work. Dad, guess what I did at school? His mother, my wife then, would stand behind him smiling. We weren't rich, but we had enough. We had love, routine, laughter, arguments, the normal things. But rebuilding a marriage after trust breaks, that's like trying to glue together shattered glass. You might make it look whole, but the cracks never disappear. It started small. Late nights, secretive texting, a sudden distance between us, a new perfume she got from her sister, work trips that didn't match her schedule. I kept telling myself I was imagining it, because when you love someone, you don't want to see the truth. You want to protect the lie a little longer, until the lie becomes too heavy. One night, she came home late, past midnight, her hair messy, her shirt buttoned wrong. "Where were you?" I asked gently. She didn't even pretend to care. "Out." "With who?" "A friend." That's not an answer. She rolled her eyes. "You're paranoid." But the truth always finds a way out. And for me, it came out through a text message that popped up on her phone while she was in the shower. A message from someone saved as C. But the message, it wasn't friendly. It was personal, intimate, familiar. My hands shook when I read it. "He still doesn't know. I love you." You'd think I stormed into the bathroom, yelled, demanded the truth. But I didn't. I sat on the floor of our bedroom, phone in hand, staring at those words. Because deep inside, I had known for months. The next weeks were chaos, yelling denial, then finally the admission. She had been seeing someone for nearly a year. Nearly a whole year. I packed a bag and slept in the guest room. Not because I was weak. Because I didn't want Daniel to see us fighting. I didn't want him to see what his mother had done. But her guilt turned to anger. Her anger turned to blame. And blame became her shield. You were distant. You didn't care. You didn't make me feel loved. You were too busy working. Every sin she committed became my fault somehow. But the worst part, the part one still struggled to forgive, she told Daniel we grew apart. She didn't tell him she betrayed our family. She painted herself as a victim. And she painted me as the man who gave up. I stayed silent. I didn't want my son to hate his mother. But silence has a price. And I paid for years. Months after the divorce, she introduced Daniel to her boyfriend, the man from the messages. He was charming, good-looking, financially stable. Everything she wanted the world to think she deserved. But what Daniel didn't know, what I didn't tell him, is that she had been with this man while we were still married. Suddenly, Daniel had two homes, two routines, two versions of reality. At my place, he was quiet at first, withdrawn, trying to understand why everything changed. At her place, he was told everything was better. She bought him new gaming consoles, new clothes, weekend trips, a bigger bedroom. And that man, her boyfriend, became the cool guy. He watched sports with Daniel, bought him gifts, acted more like a friend than a father figure. Slowly, I saw the shift, a small one, then a bigger one. Daniel started liking that house more. Mom's house is more fun. Mom's husband takes me to games. Mom says you were always angry. Mom says you didn't try. Every time he repeated her words, I felt a tiny sting. It was like she was painting a new version of me, one lie at a time, and Daniel was memorizing it. And then she married him. The man she betrayed our family with became Mom's husband. And that's when Daniel began comparing us. His stepfather took him fishing, something I used to do. His stepfather played basketball with him, something I taught Daniel first. His stepfather bought him expensive shoes, something I couldn't afford after the divorce. And every time he mentioned it, I swallowed my pride, because I didn't want to compete. I didn't want to drag him into the mess of adult mistakes. But I didn't know she was feeding him more than gifts. She was feeding him stories. Stories where she was a hero, and I was the disappointment. Stories where I was the man who failed her. Stories where she had no choice but to leave. Stories where her husband was the man she should have married all along. And slowly my son started believing it, until the night everything changed. It was a Friday evening, just me and Daniel. Pizza, movies, our usual routine. But he was different that night. Quiet, cold, almost rehearsed. Halfway through dinner, he dropped his fork, looked straight at me, and said, "Mom's husband is better than you." Just like that. No build-up, no argument, no emotion. I could tell the sentence didn't come from him. It came from somewhere else. Somewhere he had been hearing it again and again. In that moment, I wanted to explain everything, to tell him how things really fell apart, to reveal the truth about the affair. But I didn't, because anger teaches nothing. Shouting teaches nothing. Revenge teaches nothing, not in that moment. So I just sat there, silent, letting the weight of his words settle not on my heart, but on my resolve. He needed the truth, not my rage. I took a breath and said only, "Finish your food." But inside, I whispered promise. "You will learn the truth, my son, and when you do, it won't be to hurt you. It will be to free you." The next morning, Daniel barely spoke to me. He spent most of the day on his phone, texting his mother, laughing at something I wasn't part of. In the afternoon, he said something else that cut deeper than the first. "Mom says you never cared about her feelings. She says her husband listens to her. She says he treats her better than you ever did." I stood frozen. This wasn't just a child repeating something he heard. This was a child being trained to believe it. I thought for a long time that staying silent made me noble, that protecting him from the messy truth was the right thing, that shielding him from his mother's betrayal was love. But shielding someone from the truth doesn't protect them. It blinds them. And I realized something painful. My silence was letting someone else rewrite my story, rewrite his memory of me, rewrite our relationship. I could not let that continue. Not if I still wanted to be his father. Not if I still loved him, which I did more than anything. But the moment that convinced me, the moment that pushed me past the edge, was when he said, "Mom said you left her first." I almost dropped the glass in my hand, because that was the exact opposite of the truth. She had left the marriage long before she packed the bag. She had left the day she texted another man, "I love you." But in Daniel's mind, I was the one who walked away. If I didn't act soon, I was going to lose him completely. I didn't want revenge in the cruel sense. I didn't want to destroy anyone. I didn't want to turn Daniel against his mother. I wanted justice, quiet justice, truth-based justice. The kind of justice that doesn't require shouting or accusations. Just facts. So I made a plan. Not to humiliate anyone. Not to punish anyone. But to reveal, to show Daniel the truth he never heard. I gathered everything. Screenshots of the texts I found. Bank records showing money missing months before the divorce. The timeline of her work trips. Messages she sent me during the marriage. Emails between her and the man who is now her husband. Statements she made during mediation. I collected them not to weaponize them, but to bring clarity. Because you can rewrite a story, but you cannot rewrite evidence. Next, I called my sister, Daniel's aunt, someone he trusted deeply. Can I bring him over tomorrow? I need someone he respects in the room. She agreed immediately, and then I wrote a message to my ex-wife. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., Daniel and I need to talk. I want you there. She replied instantly. Why? What are you trying to do? If you manipulate him, I'll take legal action. He's finally seeing things clearly. Seeing things clearly? No, he was seeing things filtered. I didn't answer her, because tomorrow was not for her. It was for Daniel. For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar, a calm sense of control. Not revenge, not anger. Truth. At 5 p.m. sharp, we sat in my sister's living room. Me, my sister, Daniel, and his mother. Her husband didn't come. She claimed he was busy, though I suspected she didn't want him there if the truth came out. The moment we sat down, Daniel crossed his arms. Mom said he wanted to talk. What is this about? His mother glared at me. If you try to twist anything... I won't twist anything, I said calmly. I'll just show him. I placed the folder on the table. Daniel frowned. What's that? Your history, I said gently. And mine. And your mother's. My ex-wife's eyes widened. Don't. I'm not doing this to hurt you, I said. I'm doing this because I won't let our son grow up believing lies. I handed Daniel the first printed screenshot, a message from C. I miss you. I love you. Dated 9 months before our divorce. Daniel's face went pale. WH, what is this? His mother jumped in. That's out of context. No, I said, voice steady. There is no context that makes I love you from another man okay during a marriage. I handed him the second page, and the third, and the fourth, the messages, the receipts, the timeline. My sister watched, silent but present, a witness. Daniel flipped through the pages slowly at first, then faster, then with shaking hands. His mother tried to stop him. Daniel, sweetheart, listen to me. Mom, he whispered, is this real? Her lips parted, but no words came out. She tried again. Your father is twisting. I haven't said a word. I said quietly, I'm letting the truth speak. Daniel looked back down at the page with tears forming in his eyes. You told me Dad didn't care, that he left you, that he didn't try. His voice cracked. You lied? Her silence was louder than any confession. For the first time, the truth stood in the room. Visible, unavoidable, undeniable. Daniel put the papers down and covered his face with his hands. His mother reached toward him. Sweetheart, please, let me explain. He pulled away. No, not right now. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Dad, why didn't you tell me? My voice broke a little. Because you were a child. Because I didn't want you to hate your mother. Because I didn't want you to grow up with bitterness inside you. Because I loved you more than I needed to be right. He cried harder. I didn't move. I didn't hug him. I wanted him to choose what he needed. After a long moment, he stood, walked over, and hugged me harder than he ever had. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. And that's when his mother broke down too, covering her face, whispering. I didn't want him to know. I didn't want him to hate me. But truth has consequences, and lies eventually collapse. The next few days were heavy. Daniel didn't talk to his mother much. He didn't yell at her. He didn't insult her. He didn't punish her. He was simply distant. That hurt her more than anything. But I didn't enjoy any of it. I didn't want her destroyed. I just wanted honesty restored. Slowly, Daniel came back to me. He asked questions, hard questions. Dad, did you love her? Yes. Why didn't you fight harder? I fought in the ways I knew. Why did she cheat? That's something she'll have to explain. Do you hate her? No. Then he asked the question I feared most. Do you hate me for what I said? I looked him straight in the eyes. I could never hate you. Not for repeating something you didn't know was a lie. Not for being manipulated. Not for being confused. You are my son, and nothing you say will ever make me stop loving you. He cried again, but this time they were healing tears. A week later, he said something that brought me to my knees internally. Dad, Mom's husband is not better than you. I was wrong. I didn't smile triumphantly. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt peaceful because my son finally saw me, not through her words, not through someone else's lens, but through the truth. Months passed. Daniel eventually rebuilt a relationship with his mother, but it was different, more cautious, more aware. His stepfather stopped trying to compete with me. He even apologized privately. I didn't know things happened that way, he admitted. I nodded, not as a friend, not as a rival, but as a man who simply wanted peace. And my ex-wife, she went to therapy. She started taking responsibility. She tried to rebuild trust with her son, not through gifts or stories, but through honesty. As for me, I learned something powerful. Silence protects no one when silence hides the truth. Truth is not revenge. Truth is freedom. My son is closer to me now than ever before. We talk. We trust. We listen. And sometimes at dinner, he smiles at me and says, I'm glad you're my dad. Those moments heal everything. So here's the lesson I want anyone listening to remember. Lies can build a bridge that looks beautiful, but truth is the only foundation that will last. People can twist your story. They can rewrite your past. They can try to replace you. But the truth always rises. And in the end, truth is the only revenge that doesn't destroy. It sets everyone free.